is the beginning of my young horse education series with young Red here. If you've seen the last video I put out where we were collecting him, you can see he's a lot more confident than he was when he arrived, and we're only about 10 days into owning him. You've settled in very quickly, haven't you, young man? And he is a 4-year-old already, so he's a lot stronger and a lot cockier than a 3-year-old tends to be. So he needs to crack on pretty quick, else he's going to start causing havoc, and it's not going to be very pleasant getting on him. So he escaped from his field today and has been in the field with Flint. And then I've just watched him trying to take another horse's head collar off over the fence. So with that in mind, I just thought I was going to ride the other two and just do a little bit of handling with him in the field. And I've changed my mind. We're going to go do join up in the indoor school, I think, young man. Last night I did my first little bit of handling with him. I took him into the arena and just let him walk around on the lunge and figure it out. He's not been lunged, nothing like that. So it's more just figuring it all out. He's been led from field to field and had his feet trimmed and been visited by the vets a couple of times. So other than that, he's pretty clueless. Last video when I put him on the lorry, that was his first ever time on a horse box, on any sort of horse transport. So everything is new to him other than being in a field with friends and eating grass. So everything needs education. And given that he's such a cheeky chappy and he is quite a big boy, I reckon he stands at about 16'2" already, he needs manners and he needs to know what he's doing. And I love that he's a cheeky chappy, but by the same token, I also need him to behave. So first things first is PPE. I hadn't gone down to the field intending on fetching him in. Gosh, that's a lot of barking. But so I didn't have my hat on already. I was expecting to be doing Maggie and Donut first, which I don't use a hat to fetch them in from the field. So I've grabbed him in, but that is the only risks I'm taking today. He's a young horse. He doesn't know where all his legs are and he doesn't know what the rules are yet. So I shall be wearing gloves and hat, and I've got a pair of sturdy boots on. I'm going to take him to the indoor school. I don't know quite what it's like because I don't use it ever. But I think it'll be ideal for going and doing this now. And we're going to have a go at join up and get a little bit of respect going, I think, Mr. Red. Hello, you. Okay, so we are in the indoor arena. It's not huge in here. It's quite, it looks big on the video, but I don't know. It's probably about 12 meters wide, maybe 30 meters long. So Mum's in charge of gate duty, keeping him away from the gate, but it is quite high, but I'm not putting anything past him. I've blocked off the corners the best I can with the equipment that we've got in here, so that I don't end up running too much. This is better done in a round pen, but we're working with the facilities we've got. You just waggling that at him. Yeah, and he's not nearly football. You're not scared, are you, bud? He's had a wander around while we've been sorting stuff out. And now I'm about to take my jacket off because I'm going to get very warm and I'm going to do some join up. Okay then, so the general idea of join up is basically we're going to be chatting to Red in his language in theory. So obviously horses don't actually use their voice a whole lot. They'll maybe have the odd whinny to each other and the odd squeal, but their main language is body language and actions. So as you can see, I've gone in there and I've gone in quite, like, I've said hello to him and I've said, right, mate, you're going to move your feet. So the aim of the game is that I am going to put myself as the lead mare. I can make him move his feet where they need to go, basically. So I just say, you're going wherever you want. And if he's not reacting, I increase my body aids until he's really listening firmly to what I'm saying. So we're then looking for some signs that he wants to submit to me, because in the wild, obviously they live in herds and they'll often have a lead mare. A lot of people think it's the stallion. It's not the stallions. They're sort of loners and they roam, and then it's the mares who are in charge, and there's usually one most dominant mare, and they keep the herd safe, they keep them in line. But if you've ever seen horses in the field, they are pretty cutthroat with each other. They will kick each other and bite each other and, be very clear. If they're not happy, you'll know about it. I mean, Red had already found this out a little bit already, because he had some kicks and bites on him from Flint when he got in with Flint, and he'd sort of realised that was a bad idea. So yeah, but the lead mare keeps the herd safe and actually is very black and white. And once they settle in and accept her as the lead mare, the horses tend to feel a whole lot safer and more secure, because actually there's somebody taking responsibility of the situation and assessing whether there's going to be lions or whatever that's going to eat them. Now, obviously, our horses are in captivity. There's no lions out there to eat them, but they don't actually know that, and their instincts are still saying the same. So particularly when he's moved to a new place with people he doesn't know, horses he doesn't know, and he's about to learn a whole load of new things that he probably couldn't imagine that was ever going to happen in his wildest dreams, Red's probably feeling a tad insecure, although I did think he'd settled in very well with how cheeky he was getting. And actually for me, I just prefer to get on the same page with them, on the same language, and get them so that they trust me and that they feel safe around me. And now you can see he's really starting to listen to my body language. I'm not having to be as active with it. The signs we've been looking for are him putting his ear on me, dropping his head, and licking and chewing. And then once he starts doing that, I hope for him to spiral the circle around. Now, I just gave him a little bit of a chance to see where we were at. You can see we've got the dropping of the head. You can see his inside ear is absolutely on me, that it's listening. And he's saying, I do actually want to submit. But he got a bit distracted by the poles, attention of a gnat at the moment. But he's spiraling the circle around me. He's really saying, I want to be friends. He has been licking and chewing. It's quite hard to see from this distance. But I'm just saying, well, I gave you a chance and you didn't submit to me, so I'm going to keep you moving. Now, notice my body language is just coming quieter. I'm not that busy, high energy, running around, but I am taking steps directly towards him, and I'm keeping eye contact, saying, you will keep going. And if he goes to slow down, I'm saying, no, you really, really will keep going. And look how quickly he changes the rein, just with me changing my positioning now. And at some point, I will just drop my eyes to the ground and make myself smaller at the point when I think that he's ready to just give in and say, you know what, I trust you, Evie. And he nearly did, and then he said, I'm not so sure. But he's got that whole indoor school to go round, and he's just circling around me. He's got his ear on me. He's dropping his head occasionally. Look, there we go. There it goes down. He's slowing down, and now look, I've rounded my shoulders. I dropped my head, and now I'm just turning and giving him a bit of a chance. And he's saying, ooh, this is interesting. What am I to do here? I'm not so sure. And we're just giving him a little bit of time, and I think I sent him away again. Oh no, I didn't. There we go, I picked him up. What a clever boy. And he just figured out a little bit of the sort of following me and the likes, but you can see he's just not quite there. Like, his attention's gone again. So I sent him away another time and just said, no, go on. And I upped the ante a little bit. I just sort of sent the long line towards him. I said, go on, really go away. If you don't want to actually trust me, then you can move, mate. So again, very quickly, he's saying, I really do want to be your friend. I really do. And I've had my ear on you, and I've been slowing down, and I've been licking and chewing. I have been spiraling my circle. So now I'm just giving him a little chance, and, you know, it is just something a little bit different, a little bit interesting. So I've just said, here we go. I am nice, and all I want you to do is trust me and follow me, and trust that where I lead you, you'll be safe. And he said, oh, okay then. I think I can do that. And this is just a really good opportunity. And just occasionally I'm just catching his head collar because he's not learned this language yet at this stage. And we are speaking his horse language, but he's not done it with a human, has he? He's probably done it with his friends or with the nanny mare that's been in the field. But he's not figured it out. So now I'm just giving lots of praise. And the reason I'm stroking between his eyes is because that's actually a blind spot for them. So he's letting me in. He's letting me stroke him there where he can't see. So it's another trust element. And you notice how he's just picking it up now. He says, oh, I'll follow you. If that's all I need to do, I'll follow you. And he's just picking it up now, and he's just figuring it out, lowering his head, stopping when I'm stopping, turning when I'm turning. Even when he gets a little bit distracted, he's like, oh no, I must do as Evie says, she's in charge, I'll follow her. And we've now got a very relaxed horse who figures things out. So then for me, that's then a real natural progression to popping him onto the lunge, because actually we've learned with my body language how to speed him up and slow him down without a lunge. So at this stage, I'm able just to say, okay, I'm going to increase my body language and I'm going to start using some voice aids of trotting on and walking and figuring it out. And he's figured out how to do a bit of a circle around me because that's what we've been doing already. So that's where I really like just starting off with the join up, because you start off by building up some trust. You also teach them to go in a circle around you. You teach them what the go and the stop aids are, and then you add in a lunge line, and rather than it being a massive trauma, it's like, oh, actually, we've already been doing this. So it's quite a natural progression, and I'm hoping you'll see as this series goes on with backing them that actually it's a very natural progression for every step that I do. That's what I try to do, the smallest possible step. He says, oh, I'm scared. And we've got that trust on the join up, but we've got a lunge line, so it's different. So I just do it quietly, and then I say, right, there we go, well done. And then I'm going to set him back off on the lunge and just say, there you go, off we go, back out on the lunge. Good boy. He's got his ears on me, and look, he's licking and chewing. So to me, that means processing. There's lots of disputes on the different interpretations of this part of body language, and I think, you know, if you're looking at a really stressed horse and it's licking and chewing and it's trembling and whatever, yeah, it probably does mean stress. But when you've actually got a horse that's quite relaxed in its neck and it's learning new things, I think it can also mean processing. It's a bit like us using same words for different meanings. And there we go, he's figured out the stopping. Okay, so it's very quiet, but I'm hoping you could just hear what I was sort of saying to him. as I was going. You can see he couldn't quite figure out heading out on the lunge, but for me, my main goal was to sort of get myself to a position where I could almost drive him from behind. I was just saying, and trot on when it came to trotting on, so he starts to learn the words. At this point, I'm just wanting him to slow down, but it's just a bit like, no, I'm not quite sure. I'd rather just keep running, so I'm just giving him a little bit of pressure down on his dually halter, just to say, ooh, Red, ooh, and this is what I'll be saying to him now. So I'm looking down and rounding my shoulders, ooh, and then he's gone, oh, I know that bit, and then he's going, oh, but I'm attached to a lunge line, so it's different, but the same. And then we've got walk on. So then I'll be saying walk on. And I should have mic'd myself up for a lot of this, really, but I was busier thinking about backing my horse, to be quite honest. So we'll make do with the voiceovers instead. And then we're going for trot on. Notice my body language gets bigger. And then once he's in trot, it just goes quieter and it's like, thank you. And then this is how this session went. And we just got on with it. Shall we just have a moment to be a bit like, isn't he beautiful? Isn't he very beautiful? Maybe I'm biased. And then I was quite pleased with that. And then from there, what I actually did was I then let him off the lunge line again and just gave him an opportunity to have a bit of a follow with me and just say, I trust you, I'll follow you. And you can see he's sort of processed the bit of work that we did before the lunging, and now he's doing it even better. And to me, I couldn't have hoped for a better first proper session. I know I'd done a little bit in the outdoor school, but that was more just leading him round. This was the first actual proper work session, in my opinion, and I feel like we finished it with a happy, relaxed horse who had learnt a bit and could understand where we were going with stuff, and you can just see he's a happy boy. Okay, so fast forward 2 days and we're now on the 25th of May. I'm pretty sure the day before this I just repeated what I'd done, so a bit of join up and a little bit of lunging, and just made sure that he understood it. And then I like to really make sure that my young horses get lots of variety and we keep progressing stuff forwards, providing that they are happy and confident. So this time I brought him into the outdoor arena to do a bit of a session, and I had these poles out so I could practice my dressage test with Maggie, because it was back at, I think that exact day I'd been to Shelford with her. And I just thought, oh, this is really good for his proprioception. So we're literally just snaking our way along them. You can already see how much easier he is to lead and how quickly he just stops. If I stop, he stops. And we were just doing the poles, and we just keep repeating things. I would say that's one of those things with working young horses. You'll notice I've actually changed which side I'm leading him from, which you might think is a little bit strange. But if you know the anatomy of a young horse's brain, you'll realise that they don't really process as quickly as we do, like from both sides. So you can be out on a hack and they see a plastic bag or a big leaf or something spooky from one eye, and they don't find it spooky at all. You can then be on your way home and they see it from the other eye and they absolutely poo their pants, or vice versa. And that is because their brains don't link up side to side as quickly as ours do. So what goes in one eye doesn't quite process through the same as the other. That's massive oversimplification, but to be fair, it's kind of what we need to know. So when I do anything with them, if I lead them from the left side, I'll then lead them from the right side. And automatically, we're much naturally happier on the left side because we get on from the left side, we lead them from the left side, and it is just a habit. But I think it's good to do everything from both sides as much as you can. And you can see I'm just lunging here. I do have my Pony Club A test. I have done numerous lunge tests where I would have absolutely failed had I let my horse put its head down to the ground and then let my line droop and touch the floor. but I don't care because I'm not taking a test right now and I don't mind as long as it's safe. So the lunging with Red is really to make sure that he's settled and happy. And obviously I spent a lot longer than you've seen doing that because I think it can just get repetitive watching someone lunge a horse for ages. But I was really telling him he was a good boy when he was lowering his head and neck to really start just teaching him the basics, you know. We don't have to wait until I'm on for him to learn about working through his back and lifting his belly and dropping his head. He can do it right from the floor. So I'm really trying to start, as I mean, to go on with him and have him in a happy, confident space where he's learning all of the basics, hopefully in the right order. Probably won't succeed, but I can at least aim for it. So new day again, and I'm back into the indoor, and someone's put out these scatter poles, which I decided to leave out because I thought they'd probably be quite useful. So I'm starting off with a little bit of handling, starting to introduce backing up, so he's got to trust where I'm asking him to put his feet. It also adds into the pressure and release work we're doing. Oh, very clever, like a circus elephant. Impressive. That is. Yeah, so when I say I'm working on his proprioception, it's about him figuring out where his feet are and making sure, it's like hand-eye coordination, really, for us. And the poles are a brilliant thing for that. So these scatter poles are really useful because I can just wander around and lead him over them wherever they may be. Yeah, and the backing up is pressure and release as well. So I put pressure on and ask him to reverse, and then he gets a release when he does it. So I take the pressure away. It's actually called negative reinforcement. So you put an aid on, and then the praise is the removal of the aid. I think that's why it's called negative. And I think positive reinforcement is you ask them to do something and the reward is that they get something like a treat. It's just going back to my uni days. Anyway, looking at what I'm doing now, I'm just starting to build up a little bit because actually now I'm starting to think, right, we understand lunging, we understand handling, we have got a bit of respect. Let's start introducing the two lines. And I try not to dwell on stuff too much because I keep repeating everything. So what he's learnt in session 1, he's now redoing in session 4, and then we're just adding extra stuff in. So again, I'm doing the negative reinforcement. I want him to stand still with this line. I want him just to chill out about it. So if he moves, I keep the pressure there. I keep it just resting on his side. And then if he stands still, I take it away. And then I'm telling him he's a good boy. So we're adding a bit of positive reinforcement in too. And you can see he's sort of settling in. He looks quite happy. You know, this isn't a horse that's being sort of hurried or pushed, and that is a note that I will add. I am not going at commercial speed with Red for backing him, and I have absolutely no intention of going at commercial speed because, well, the ideal is that I'm going to keep him to ride and compete, but even if I don't and he goes up for sale, I want him just to be a really, really happy horse in his work. And there's no need to go at commercial speed because nobody's paying me to do it. So there's nobody worrying about what their bill's going to be. And he can just take as much time as he likes. If he doesn't do anything this year, that's fine. If he does a little show at the back end of the year, that's also fine. It's just all about him having the best possible foundation that we can give him. So again, just spending ages, you know, I've tried to compress a certain amount of this video down so it's not boring.
Lovely.
But anything that you're not seeing is repetition like this, where it's just very quietly done. And he says, "Oh, I don't like that." And I just say, "It's okay." And we just take steps forward, steps back, steps forward, steps back, and make sure that we tell him he's a good boy. So he says, "Oh, that's a bit much having a line dropped over me like that." But realistically, when we think about it, when it comes to long lining, it'll be touching all sorts of places. And then when we come to putting tack on and putting a rider on, I'll be touching all sorts of places and I'll be moving about up there. So he's just got to get used to this. And this is the best, nicest possible way that I can start him, because the line is soft and it's gentle, and in my hand I'll have the clip, so that's not touching him. That's the only thing that could bash him, and I'll have hold of that so that it's not going to bash him. And again, I'll just keep getting him to stand still, and just, there we go, I've got the line on him until he stands still. Can you stand still, please? Ready? Good boy, I'll take it away. So that's quite a clear example, and I do it the same for anything really, you know, like if you want to start teaching them to be washed off, or you got something that's a bit rubbish with the hose pipe, if they're ones that are going to move a lot, then get the hose pipe, the water flowing on them, try and keep it on them while they shimmy about, and then as soon as they stand still, take it off, and you'd be surprised how quickly they learn to stand still with that. So then there's been occasions where I've let him walk around, and now I've just progressed to walking him in a circle with the line on him so he can feel how it moves while he walks. And a lot of the time, a walk is a release, because horses are flight animals, so their instinct is to move. So it is good to give them a chance to have a bit of a move about as well. You'd never want to try and make them be rooted to the spot the entire time. I don't know if you can tell at this stage, I do a lot of my work with horses just by feel. Like I can just feel when they're ready for a bit more or a bit less, whether they need a walk and whatever, and they just slowly start to build an understanding. And I feel like he's really starting to get a lot more confident with this line as his first introduction to having anything on his back. He's a good boy, and he can have a bit of a walk, and we'll go off and do some other work now. Okay, so stage 2 of the plan is starting to introduce him to having 2 lines on. So I like to do a lot of the groundwork by myself. It's how I was taught to do it when I was working backing horses. So I would do all of the groundwork, and then my boss would come in and do a little bit of groundwork once I've got the horses long lining with tack on really confidently, ready to start getting on, basically. Then she would come in and do a little bit so that the horse was happy with her on the ground, and then at that stage we'd sort of swap over because I'd be the person getting on. So like I say, I've learned to do a lot of this just sort of the horse and I, and it really starts bringing in a bit of trust. So the way I get them onto the long lines is I put the offside line on the floor, and I thread the clip end over the wither and then put it to the bit through the stirrup and to the bit at the stage when they've got full tack on. So this is where I've gone to the next stage. So I've got already used to having the line rested on his side, and now I need him to get used to having the line popped on the floor and the clip threaded over his back. And you can see, he said, I am so not sure about that because there's a blooming snake chasing me. And we just worked with it, and we did the pressure and release as we've been doing the whole way through. So if he ran away, I stuck with him and I just kept it touching him. And then at that stage, I was like, right, good, okay, we've done a little bit of work. And he just says, gosh, you are strange human beings. I have spent my life in a field eating grass, and now you've got ropes you want to put on me. So then again I've picked it up, and I can't remember, I did I go back to putting it back down on the ground, or did I decide to walk with him with it this time? So now, because he's had that moment where he's had a bit of a hoo-ha and he's sort of danced off, we've got a pigeon flying up on the roof, I went back a step. So you saw the bit that I was doing before about the pressure and release and having the line on him. And he really didn't like it when I put the line on the ground and started threading the buckle over. So I was like, right, okay, we'll go back a step again just to check that he can stand still with me just running the line over his body. And he says, oh, look at me. I know how to do this. I get this bit. And yeah, you can put that line wherever you like. I don't mind that. So I've just said, okay, now you know that, we'll go and progress on, but we're just double checking. So that's why I take everything in such progressive steps as we go forwards with it, because then it means you've got a point to go back to if they ever have something. So here now, because he didn't like it being on the floor, that was just a step too far, I've gone, right, I'm going to hold on to the second line and tell him he's good and do the pressure and release and just build it up where I start threading the line over. And basically my aim is to get the clip to touch the floor, because then I know that that would be long enough to thread the clip through the stirrup and to the bit, and then I can just flick the line over his bottom. Obviously that is at the stage when he actually knows all about being long lined, but at this stage I'm just getting him used to the line being threaded over his back. And you can see I'm just checking to see how low it goes, and you can see it hanging on his offside, and he's just spotted it hanging. You can see by his ears he's saying, oh, that's strange. And I'm just saying he's good, and I've shortened it up a little bit at the point where he said I'm not sure, and I've shortened it up some more so he can feel the clip coming up and down his side. Because if you're thinking, he's got the sensation of the line coming up and around his back. He's never had a rug on, he's never had a girth on, so that's something a bit different. And then he's got the cold bit of the clip that's coming up and over as well. And he reacted really well to that. So then, release, we go and do a bit of walking. And we say, good boy, thank you, let's have a bit of a release. And then I probably will repeat it again. We'll see. I can't remember. We're now in to the start of July, and this was in May, so I can't remember exactly what order I did everything in. Oh yes, and look again. I'm doing exactly the same again. I'm just starting to thread it over and tell him he's a good boy. And you can see he's got a relaxed leg, and you can see it's hanging down now. And that's the difference between sort of like just carrying on, and he could have escalated and got worse and worse and gone, oh, I'm scared. Or just actually saying, no, you don't like the line on the floor yet. You will like the line on the floor. You won't mind. But let's just introduce one stage at a time with this. So now again, as we've previously discussed, what I've done on one side, I will do on the other. I hope this isn't too boring. I hope you're finding it interesting, because I think it's good to see his reaction. So again, step back to just rubbing the line on him, which at the start really wasn't something that he particularly liked. And then we go to threading that clip over, and I'm giving lots of praise in the meantime, telling him he's a good boy, and he's just got it sitting over his back. And, you know, this will be completely alien to him. Before this day, I don't think he'd had anything particularly over his back. I'd scratched it and given him a groom, but he's never had any equipment leaning over his back or anything like that. And again, we're just going up and down with it so he can start to feel the sensations and realise that, no, it's not frightening, it's not scary, it's not going to hurt him, and it's all okay. And he gets lots of praise. And I was really pleased with him with that. Oh, a good boy. And then with that, I then just let him off. And because we've been doing the join up work and the confidence work, he's happy with it. Oh, and then I'd obviously planned this in. This was obviously my day where we were going to introduce a saddle pad. So that explains why I was keen to have stuff laying over his back. Now, just to add in, I will have done a bit of join up, I imagine, between leading him over the poles and doing all of this, because I think it's good just to get a little bit of energy out beforehand. He'll have either done join up or lunging. We just probably haven't caught it on camera because there's so much going on. And I've already got hours and hours and hours of footage to edit as it is, let alone if we just videoed sort of repetitive things. So obviously it started off with the line, getting him used to the line rubbing on him, got him used to a line laying over him and moving about, and then we're just doing the same with the saddle pad. So it's exactly the same, and you can see he's standing of his own free will. I would have no hope in hell of making him stand still if I wanted to try and force him. It just isn't something that is an option. And again, we're then just saying, here you go, have a look at this. And I'm just looking at all the scurf that's coming off of him and all the grub. He's about ready for a bath, ready. bless him. And then we're doing it on both sides. So I'm going to sound like a broken record. Do everything from both sides, guys. And he actually almost seems to like the saddle pad more than the long line, which is funny. And doing dog training already. After this day, I was like, no, can we please just lock the dogs up until Red's a little bit more confident about being ridden in the works. But they do tend to be around us quite a lot when I'm riding, which is probably what stood us in good stead that time when Donnie got chased by the dog at badminton. So now I've opened the pad up and I'm letting him have a good sniff and a good look at it. And I'm just going to let it droop on over a bit like I did with the long line. He says, oh, that's on that side. Made me jump. So Bammy's desperate to get the pigeon by the looks of things. But anyway, back to the horse. That's been very clever getting the saddle pad on. And it's just on and off, on and off. I think it's very easy to think, okay, once it's on, that's it, it's on. It's the same with loading. People sort of load and think, well, I don't take it off again because it might not go back on. And actually, you've got to get the trust of you can take it on and off and just keep repeating. And I thought he was a really good boy with that. He was like, I like this saddle pad. This is mine. So again, what are we going to do? We're going to go and do it from the other side. Oh, dear. Maybe this is a bit boring. I hope it's not a bit boring. I hope it's interesting. And then we do that. And he's actually moving a little bit with it. And he's getting to have a feel of it moving. And see how it goes. You're a good boy. And now he's having a look from the other side. And I just love how well they process it. And of course he's getting lots of praise. And then we'll take it off. And you can have a look at it. He was a good boy. Oh, and talking of baths, here we go. Reddy Teddy had a bath. So I obviously decided that he was full of winter grease and scurf and disgustingness. And just thought, well, while we're at it, we may as well introduce the hose pipe. So just same as with everything, he took a little while to get it on him. I don't think Mum videoed because, I was loose and I needed all hands on deck just in case he got away from me, which he didn't. But again, we just eventually got the water on him. I was using warm water to make it a little bit more pleasant. And it's just the same as everything else, the pressure and release. If he moves, the pressure comes on it and it stays there until he stops. And then when he stops, it comes off. And then obviously if he's stood and happy, that's when I got on with bathing him. But you just remember occasionally just to take the pressure off and say, thanks, Red. Good boy for standing still. And then I'm getting a bit further back and he's just spotted Mum and is desperate to say hello to her and look how clever he's being. All the time, keeping my PPE on. I won't be bathing him and handling him in my hat and gloves forever. But while we don't know what his reaction is going to be, I don't want root burn and I don't want to get trodden on and hurt my feet too much. And I don't want to damage my head. So we shall put that on until he's just a bit more worldly and knows a bit more about life. But you can see he had a nice bath and he was a really good boy and he's starting to look pretty beautiful. Okay then, and final day of this video, I'm just going to show you. We only got a short little clip that I'm showing you now because there was one of my friends over having a watch, so we'd been chatting with them. But you can see I progressed putting the long lines over to then just letting him lunge on 2 lines. So he's just basically lunging, but I'd added the offside line on just over his back and just attached to the other side, but it wasn't doing anything. It was more the idea of just having something moving sat on his back. before I go on to start introducing a roller and tack and the likes, which you're going to have to wait, I'm really sorry, to next video, otherwise this video is going to be hours long. But yeah, and you can see he got quite confident with it and his lunging's much better. I've been trying to do more lunging in the outdoor than in the indoor because it's quite tight in the indoor, but just bobbing around in trot's fine, and you can see how much better he is with his transitions. And I was so proud of him. What a clever boy. Okay, so I'm just jumping in now. When I recorded this, I was like, oh, we'll do right up until he's had the roller on and he's good with that. And I don't think I realised how much footage I'd have and how little I'd want to edit out so that you guys could sort of see the progression. So with that, I'm going to cut it short on this vlog, and then we'll go on to another part next vlog. So obviously that is Red learning about being handled and how to lunge, and at the end I was just sneaking in a little bit of with 2 lines, that's the words I was looking for. And we will then on the next vlog or video, is this a vlog? I don't know. I don't really know. On the next video, we will go on to putting tack on. I think that would be a great progression. I hope you've enjoyed this. I don't know if it's something that's interesting or not, or if it's maybe a bit too repetitive, but it's the nature of backing a young horse. I have found it so rewarding so far, but then by the same token, I'm speaking from a little way in the future. We're quite a bit further on than what you've just seen. And I really, really love doing the young horses. I haven't done a baby since Maggie, and she was actually backed when I got her, so I haven't backed one. I rebacked one last year for somebody, but not from scratch for a while. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Red is such a gorgeous boy. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I do hope it was interesting, and if you want to keep up with our progress, make sure to subscribe, because I've got quite a few installments to put out, hopefully in quick succession now, because I just want you guys to see what we're up to. Anyway, have a great day, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.